please welcome AIPAC Southwest Regional Political Director, Jerry Greenspan.
Good afternoon. Welcome to our showcase session, Bipartisanship in Action. Today's program is an incredible display of the bipartisan support the U.S.-Israel relationship enjoys on Capitol Hill. We'll be joined by party leaders and committee chairs who will have a direct impact on our alliance with Israel. So with that, let's jump right into our first panel. The House Committee on Foreign Affairs helps shape our nation's foreign policy and is one of the most influential congressional panels as it relates to our work together. So it's a very good thing that our first guests, the chair and ranking member of the committee, are proud friends of the pro-Israel movement and steadfast supporters of a strong U.S.-Israel alliance. Congressman Engel is the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Representing New York City, he is a 33-year veteran of the AIPAC Policy Conference. Yeah. And of course, he remains to this day a vocal champion for the pro-Israel cause. His partner in this important work is Congressman McCaul from the Lone Star State of Texas. Yeah. He is the ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee and is a recognized leader on matters of homeland and national security. Together, they've led the committee to address global challenges, and today they will take us inside the halls of Congress and explain how they're helping to strengthen the U.S.-Israel relationship. Please help me welcome Congressman Engel and McCaul. Chairman.
Vice Chair.
Congressman, good to see you. Please. Congressman Engel, before we start, I should say I'm only 24 policy conferences behind you. Maybe if you skipped a few for us, I could catch up.
Not a chance.
Okay, we tried. Gentlemen, first of all, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the incredible leadership that you've shown on the U.S.-Israel relationship and with respect to the committee, and that's where I want to begin. Because with a presidential election quickly approaching, if no one was paying attention, partisanship is at very epic levels. We see even today that it's almost impossible for Democrats and Republicans to come together on anything, even the most basic things that Congress should be working on. Historically, and even in today's climate, I would say the House Foreign Affairs Committee is a little bit different. You've continued to function well, and if I can quote the folks at Real Clear Politics, I want to get it right, you stand as the one island of calm in a sea of partisan enmity. And we've especially realized this as it comes to issues related to Israel. And I know it's not easy, and I want to start by saying thank you. And I want to ask, yeah, absolutely. As chair and ranking member of the committee, I want to ask, how do you get along so well? How do you continue to operate in such a bipartisan and collaborative fashion?
Well, first of all, we believe on the Foreign Affairs Committee that politics should stop at the water's edge, and that it's not very fashionable anymore in Washington to do that, but we've done that on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and we find out that when we work together, we accomplish a great deal. And so I'm very proud of the work Mike and I have done, and we try to talk to our members and bring them along as well, and we consider, again, ourselves the most bipartisan committee in the United States Congress. The objectives of what we try to do are very similar. For instance, support for the U.S.-Israel relationship. That is strong. There is strong support from both political parties on the Foreign Affairs Committee to strengthen the U.S. and Israel relationship. And that's very, very good and very important, because when people see that there is an agreement, that the alliance between the U.S. and Israel is unshaken and unbroken and working really hard, it really goes a long, long way. And so I've had the pleasure of serving with Michael, and my predecessor as chairman, Ed Royce, we also did that as well. And I think the American people like what we're doing. And when it comes to Israel, the vast majority on both sides of the aisle, the Foreign Affairs Committee is pro-Israel, supportive of Israel, and will do everything they can to enhance the U.S.-Israel relationship.
Absolutely.
And we're very, very proud of that.
Congressman McCaul.
I think this is probably one of the most important committees in Congress, particularly now. I chaired Homeland Security when the rise of ISIS and the caliphate took place. Now it's nation-state adversaries like Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. But I'm very proud of the work that Elliot and I have accomplished together. We have passed more bipartisan bills out of our committee than any other committee on the Hill today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people say, how could that be done? I think it's because foreign policy should unite us. We travel overseas on congressional delegations, and I'm not representing my party, he's not representing his. We're there as Americans first, representing the United States, of America, and that's what we believe is important.
Absolutely.
And so I think it starts with relationships. You look at a lot of these other committees, and the chair and ranking member are constantly in a battle. The acrimony is at an all-time high. It's in vogue to be partisan because you get more attention, you get on television. But Elliot and I believe that our relationship, it's relationship-driven, and it's from the top down.
Right.
We agree on probably 95%. We're both very strong pro-Israel, and we're both very anti-Iran. And when you look at that, everything else geopolitically kind of falls nicely into place. When you look at the allies of Iran being China and Russia, and when you look at the allies of Israel being the United States and other countries in the Middle East. And so we set the tone at the top, and we think our members follow that. If we ever disagree, we always talk about it with civility.
Sure.
And I think that's what's missing in today's toxic world on the Hill is civility. And I think Elliot and I are trying to restore that to the Congress.
And we definitely appreciate that. Absolutely. And you help me segue here, Congressman. I do want to turn and I want to talk about the threat from Iran. They pose multiple existential threats to Israel and multiple security threats to the United States, to Israel, as I said, and to the Arab states, to our allies in the region. The UN arms embargo we were discussing on Iranian imports and exports of conventional weaponry will actually expire in October. This is an incredible threat and an incredible concern of many people. If it happens, it exponentially increases the threat that they pose around the globe. You both are co-sponsors of an important letter to Secretary Pompeo on the issue. So tell us a little bit more about the threat and what we can do to help move this effort along to educate your colleagues.
Right, and did you want me to?
No, sure, please.
Iran is the largest sponsor of terrorism, as you know. The Shia Crescent to Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen poses a serious threat. I think the maximum pressure campaign is working with the snapback of sanctions. And I think the timely death of Soleimani has made the world a better place, personally. Who killed so many Americans, was responsible for attacking our embassy. But to your point, the JCPOA, which Elliot and I both were against, actually, the one thing it left in place was this embargo on weapons sales. That will expire in October, and it's very dangerous. Both Elliot and I signed a letter to Secretary Pompeo urging to use all diplomacy to ensure this embargo is not lifted. I'm concerned, however, the Russians and the Chinese are going to do everything they can to veto that UN resolution, because after all, they sell so many arms and weapons, Russians and Chinese, to Iran, and they have an alliance there, and I think it's a very dangerous thing, and I'm so glad that AIPAC is taking this issue head on with the members of Congress in their offices.
And as everyone knows, this will be something that we lobby on tomorrow on Capitol Hill. Congressman Engel, Mr. Chairman, I want to ask, what are you hearing about this letter and this effort from your colleagues, and are we ready? It seems like the U.S. may be alone, as Congressman McCaul said, the U.S. will be alone in enforcing this continued embargo. Your thoughts?
Well, I think, as always, our members are overwhelmingly pro-Israel on both sides of the aisle. I think that you'll find receptivity when you go to the different offices. Israel's fight is America's fight, and America's fight is Israel's fight. And it's not only a matter of Iran and weapons affecting Israel, it affects the U.S., it affects all freedom-loving countries in the world. And I think it's very, very important that we focus on it. That's why AIPAC has always been so effective in doing its job. When I look at the 33 years that I've attended AIPAC conventions consecutively, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
I have seen these conventions grow from, I think in the early years we had about 700 or 800 people there, to a point where it's overflow crowd, let's put it that way.
We're there now.
And you know, we hear a lot of things in the media and a lot of nasty things and whatever. I just want to say that AIPAC has absolutely made a difference on Capitol Hill. You have absolutely made the difference. Sometimes people say, well, you know, I come over, I schlep to Washington. Is it really worth it? The answer is absolutely yes. Your members of Congress want to hear what you have to say. And when you visit members of Congress and you visit as a constituent, they will really listen to you. And we tried to make this letter as bipartisan as we could so that everybody, or almost everybody, would feel comfortable signing on to it. And again, it's very important. You know, when we talk about Iran, the problems with Iran are not only threats to Israel, threats to the United States, and threats to all our allies in the Middle East. Right. Things are different with Israel now than it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. Israel has relations, may not be official diplomatic relations with everybody, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of things, and they find out when I have Arab heads of state coming to visit me, they talk about the threat, the Iranian threat. They could have been an Israeli politician or an Israeli elected official, because everyone in the Middle East understands that Iran is a terrible threat. And so I hope everybody signs the letter, and I think it's very, very important work, and I commend AIPAC once again for doing that.
We appreciate that. Let me come to close here on foreign aid, and we'll do kind of almost a rapid-fire, quick response answer. Foreign aid has been one of those issues that we have lobbied on time and again, and it's one that seems to be getting more and more attention now than ever. So very quickly, should the U.S. Be conditioning aid to Israel? Should we be looking to cut foreign aid overall? Obviously not to Israel, but should we be cutting foreign aid to places that have relationships with Israel that ultimately support Israel's aid? Congressman McCaul.
Well, I think foreign assistance can encourage certain behavior. I would not be for conditioning Israeli. And one of the first bills that Elliot and I got passed was full security assistance to the state of Israel. We believe that was a very important move to show our bipartisan support.
Conditioning aid to Israel has to be just about the stupidest thing I've heard in the 33 years I've been in Congress. It's absolutely outrageous, and I don't care from what party. Anybody who talks about conditioning aid to Israel doesn't get my vote.
Well,
Yeah.
Sure.
Just one other thing is, you know, Secretary Mattis said if you take away my diplomats, we're going to have to buy more bullets.
Sure.
Elliot and I understand how this works, and I think that when the diplomats fail, that's when you go to war, and that's always a last resort. So it's really easy as a politician to say, I'm going to cut all foreign assistance across the board, but when you look in reality, what that does is it makes the world a more dangerous place. And we restored funding in many areas, whether it be Israel or whether it be the Global Health Fund, which now with the coronavirus, we're seeing was absolutely the right.
And of course, foreign aid is only 1% of the U.S. budget. The American people think it's 15 or 20%. It's just one percentage point. And if there's one country who's made the most of it, it's certainly Israel. And if there's one country who's fighting their fight, but in a sense it's also our fight, it's Israel, and that's why it's so important for the U.S. and Israel, regardless of who's president or who's prime minister, maintain that special bond and that special relationship. And again, I want to commend AIPAC and AIPAC activists for all these years for really making a difference. Believe me, you've made a great difference on Capitol Hill.
And gentlemen, we want to commend, we want to commend both of you. We want to thank you both for the incredible leadership and bipartisan leadership you've shown on the issue. We're so deeply grateful for your support and for being here today. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Elliot Engel and Michael McCaul.
Thanks a lot.
There you go, guys.
Okay, good.